The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. We're so pleased that you join us today. Alzheimer's Orange County is really pleased to bring you an Alzheimer's research update. Our keynote speaker today is Dr. Jung Trin, and we have a special guest, Lisa Thurman from Global Alzheimer's Platform. She's going to be talking to us about a really unique program called Activate Your Brain. The Global Alzheimer's Platform has brought us this particular research update today, and so we so appreciate the support and sponsorship. GAP is a patient-centric, not-for-profit organization dedicated to speeding the delivery of innovative therapies to those afflicted with Alzheimer's. They want to reduce the time and the cost of all Alzheimer's disease clinical trials. And our speaker, Lisa Thurman, is the Senior Manager of Recruitment and Clinical Trial Optimization. She has over 20 years experience in the pharmaceutical research field, including 10 involved with building direct private research practices. She's often been the project director responsible for development of innovative strategies for clinical research sites and ensuring overall implementation, recruitment, and the closeout of the clinical trials across all therapeutic areas. Her passion is for spearheading these initiatives to drive innovation in recruitment development and clinical research to align with the paradigm shift in Alzheimer's and dementia research. We so appreciate and welcome Lisa Thurman from Global Alzheimer's Platform with Activate Your Brain. Lisa.
Thank you, Patty. Afternoon, everybody. My name is Thurman, as Patty has already said. I'm with the Global Alzheimer's Platform Foundation. We call it GAP amongst us. So feel free to just go ahead and refer to us as GAP if you have any questions at the end. Activate Your Brain is our brain health initiative that was developed by the GAP Foundation, specifically to promote healthy brain aging and decrease the incidence of Alzheimer's and dementia. We did it in partnership with 71 of our most prominent and well-respected research centers across North America to gather evidence based on and related to how we can protect our brain from brain aging and negative brain aging for that matter. Next slide, please. What's brain health? It's referring to your ability to remember, logic, concentrate, and maintain a really clear and active mind. Throughout your life, the brain's job is going to help you make sense of the world and help oversee, your daily operations. It doesn't matter how young or how old you are, there are ways to improve your health by just making really simple, basic changes. Next slide. How do we achieve it? Simply said, we need to make positive lifestyle changes every day. It's not next week, it's not last week, it's every day. And it's small changes to work towards a healthy brain living. Next slide. We're going to talk about the 8 pillars of brain health: staying active, eating well. You can see the banner behind me, highlights all those main points: exercising your brain, connecting with friends and family, relax, reducing stress, and controlling your risk factors, and getting involved in research. Next slide. How do we stay active? We know that research supports a strong link between physical activity and brain health. I mean, it's pretty common sense, and it's across the lifespan. Being physically active can help you feel better. I'm sure most of you can all say that after you've been really physically active, you sleep better. You probably have more energy during the next day, and quite honestly, it improves your overall strength and balance. Next slide. So how do we stay active? Let's talk about some benefits, some ways that we can do that. Examples are walking, aerobic training, get your heart rate up, walking at a brisk pace, cycling, jogging, swimming, even strength resistance. It's really based off your capacity of how much you can or cannot do. Doing a little is doing something. Doing nothing is still doing nothing. Working out with your friends, simple things like walking to the store instead of driving or taking the stairs. Do you know that people that live in two-story homes live a longer life because of the physical capacity over a lifetime, walking up and down the stairs constantly? You know, focusing on hobbies and things that you enjoy to do and trying to incorporate an active lifestyle within that framework is really, really the key to success. Next slide, please. We all know we got to eat well. Foods that are good for your heart and your overall health, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, lean meats, fish. These are all great for your brain too. Some studies have suggested that specific vitamins and nutrients improve brain health. Next slide, please. Eating well. So what do we eat? Dark leafy greens like kale, spinach. My son does not like kale, but he loves spinach. Unsalted nuts, legumes, fruits. Obviously, we can have dark chocolate every once in a while, obviously in moderation, even red wine in small amounts. Anything rich in olive oil, nut oil, coconut oil, lean meats, and obviously fish. What do we avoid? Fast food, processed food, boxed food, any excessive carbs, any excessive alcohol, any excessive processed food. You know, a lot of fruits, citrus, berries, apples, those all contain large volumes of flavonoids, and flavonoids have been shown to create healthier brain function, specifically in areas of storage, processing, retrieving information. So food is detrimental to your brain health, and good quality food, unprocessed food, is detrimental. Next slide, please. Sleeping well. This is probably one of the most important things on our pillar, at least from my perspective. As a lifelong insomniac, sleeping well is important, getting a good night's sleep, but it doesn't just make you feel better, increases your energy levels, but it has a long-term effect on your overall health. If you're not getting enough sleep, it impairs your ability to not only multitask, but think creatively and effectively. And over a long period of time, it's going to affect your memory as well as your retention. Next slide. You can see the National Sleep Foundation suggests the following measures to experience really good sleep. Short naps of 20 to 30 minutes can help improve mood, alertness, performance. We talked about alcohol in moderation. Yes, it may help you fall asleep, but it's also one of the primary reasons you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't go back to sleep. Physical activity, it can promote rest. I would recommend not doing it right before bed because chances are it might disrupt your sleep. Avoid foods in high fat right before bedtime. Adequate sunlight during the day. Adequate nighttime. It really maintains a healthy sleep-wake cycle and regulates your circadian rhythm. It really helps the body recognize when it needs to go to sleep. Also, keeping your room cool, electronics to a minimum, blue light screens, those are all factors that factor in how well you sleep. Next slide. Exercising our brain, how do we do that? Just like your body needs exercise, so does your brain. Stimulating your mind with mentally challenging activities like reading. I know some of you guys are going to ask about Sudoku, like playing games, doing puzzle, learning new things, learning the language, taking up a hobby, or even volunteering are all great ways to exercise your brain. Next slide. You can see from here all of these activities, meditation, trivia, art, these are all exercises for your brain. They not only help in important information retrieval, but it also helps your cognition reserve. Next slide. Connecting with family and friends. Connecting with family and friends has been showed over a long time lifespan that increased social activity reduces your level of stress as well as lowers the rate of cognitive decline. Most people that have more social contacts generally tend to do a little bit better on memory and executive function or cognition tests. Positive, healthy interactions also reduce stressful and negative ones. So self-isolating is not the answer. Staying active in a world around us can help reduce depression and stress and really keeps our cognition up. Next slide. Ways you can do that: join a civic club, volunteer at the Alzheimer's Orange County. Patty has the most wonderful and engaged volunteers, and they are very active in the community. Participate in religious activities, spend time with your grandkids, join a local club, do a virtual hiking group. There are many, many ways that you can stay connected. Next slide. We all know that chronic stress has been known to damage the brain, cause problems with learning and memory. These mind approaches, such as meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, they've all been shown to relieve symptoms such as anxiety, depression, insomnia. They also can help change the brain structure and function and reduce inflammation in the brain, which is involved in cognition and your memory and attention. Next slide. You can see that these are some of the stress reducing techniques: massage therapy, mindfulness. I meditate every morning, or at least I try to. I'm not great at it, but I practice, and it's overall in the past year, I've seen a great reduction in my stress levels, especially since I'm homeschooling a 7-year-old, which is scary. Anyways, meditation has really alleviated a lot of that stress. Incorporating it into your daily routine can be really helpful. Next slide. Cognition. Cognition is the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through experience and your senses. The pathophysiology is the functional changes that occur within the presence of disease, such as mild cognitive impairment or Alzheimer's and dementia. We tend to involve certain significant or traumatic experiences that can increase anxiety, increase insomnia. Changing the way that we approach these events or our worry time or these thought-stopping events and incorporating positive thinking into will benefit our brain health as well. And obviously change our pathophysiology and our cognition and improve both. Next slide. Controlling our risk factors. The risk of experiencing age-related cognitive decline is heavily influenced by age and genetics, but it's also influenced by your risk factors. So adopting a healthy lifestyle early, incorporating a healthy lifestyle or healthy diet as a part of your normal routine, and getting treatment for your chronic conditions can help decrease your risk of cognitive impairment. These conditions can include diabetes, hypertension, obesity, depression. Managing these are key to good brain health. Next slide. By changing your diet and exercise and controlling stress and getting yearly checkups, that's the first step. You have to be a part of your own team and your own advocate for your own health care. Managing your diabetes, hypertension, cholesterol, depression. All those, along with adopting a healthy lifestyle and diet, can help reduce your overall risk of memory loss or cognition issues. Next slide. This is my favorite pillar. Mostly because it's really utilizing the resources around you. We have many research centers, and they're their research centers of excellence. Dr. Trin will be speaking next. He works with Irvine Clinical Research, and getting involved in research is really key. There are many types of research studies seeking volunteers, whether it be an observational or an interventional. That means you'll be taking a drug as opposed to being observed. There are many types of studies at UCI. There's many types of studies at Irvine Clinical. These are key research studies and can help you find, or you can help find scientific breakthroughs in an area, a therapeutic area that hasn't had much success. We haven't had a new drug, a disease modifying drug brought to market. And more importantly, it really helps you understand brain health overall. And you're doing something good for their future generation, because we all know that Alzheimer's and dementia is one of the leading causes of death. Nationally, I think it's 1 in 5 since COVID. It was 1 in 4 prior to COVID. In Orange County prior to COVID, it was 1 in 3 because we have a faster aging demographic. Next slide. Volunteers have an opportunity to really receive medications during these clinical studies. You get access to testing that you wouldn't normally get in a private practice setting, and you get to work with key researchers in an innovative field. And like I said, you really are helping not just yourself, but your kids and your grandkids, because there's a hereditary component to the disease somewhat as well. Next slide, please. When you think about getting involved in research, you really need to ask yourself what treatment or tests I'll be having, what potential risks, how is it going to protect my health, how is the study going to affect my daily life, and how long the study is going to last. So when you look at a lot of the opportunities in clinical research, these are really questions to consider before you really get involved, and honestly do a thorough evaluation of what is appropriate for you. Next slide. Last but not least, where to find clinical trials. You can talk to Dr. Trin, and he works alongside Irvine Clinical Research. There is their telephone number, or you can just call and contact him directly. Thank you. All done.
I thank you very much, Lisa. I hope we all now are a little bit more inclined to participate in research studies and in clinical trials when it's most appropriate. So thank you so much for that really interesting information, Lisa. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Patty. It was a pleasure.
Our pleasure. My next pleasure is to introduce Dr. Dung Trin. Dr. Trin is a keynote speaker, a best-selling author, a health educator with an international following. He speaks on various preventative health topics, including cancer reduction strategies, inflammation and all of the difficulties that can be caused by inflammation. He speaks on ketosis, weight loss, and many other health topics. He's the Chief Medical Officer at Irvine Clinical Research, and he's a board member at Alzheimer's Orange County. He continues a clinical practice with Memorial Care and is a medical missionary with the Tongue Out Medical Missions. Please welcome Dr. Dung Trin. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Patty. All right. I guess it's just me. I don't have any slides for you guys other than being the chatterbox. So there's a lot of folks on here. On your right side, are you able to see where you can put in either a chat in the chat box or put in questions? If you want to try putting in a question or try typing something in the chat box so that we can be a little bit more interactive. So I'm going to type something myself. And can you all see this? in the chat box on the right. That way I want to, cool, okay. All right, a whole bunch of folks can see this, huh? Very cool, very cool. Awesome. Because again, I want to make this interactive so that I'm not like, just talking to the computer screen. Great. I want to make sure that I can see the questions as well. Very cool. So you can see that. And the next thing I'm going to do here, guys, is I'm going to put down my email so that I know that we don't have like a whole bunch of time to give you all the update that I wanted to update you with. So I'm going to put in my email. If you have a pen and paper, you can go ahead and just write my email down. It's just my name, dung.trin@alzoc.org. So that later on, if you do have additional questions, you can always email me. Because I know that many times, after this thing's done and a few other questions come to mind that you may have not thought of, you can email me directly. So very cool. I got a question. I got a bunch of questions already. Carol says, will we receive a copy of the Active 8 presentation? Carol, yes. This presentation, guys, is going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Alzheimer's Orange County's YouTube channel, so that that you'll be able to see this on YouTube and the entire presentation. That cool. And some folks are writing, "I see you," and great. So let's get straight to it, guys. The YouTube link is here. Melissa just posted the YouTube link. Copy that link, guys, and open it up sometimes after this lecture is done. And when you open up the YouTube link, click on subscribe so that you're a subscriber to the Alzheimer's Orange County YouTube channel, so that anything new that comes up, it'll notify you, right? With that. Now, you guys are here because you want to know what's up with the latest studies, and so let's get to it. Before I can tell you, and before you can completely understand the meaning of the updated and the latest studies, I want to give you guys an overview first of the disease process that goes on in our brain. That what these clinical trials are focused on treating. Okay, and type in the questions at the questions comment section if you know or if you have heard about the Alzheimer's plaque, the plaque that builds up in our brain. You can type something in the chat box. You can type in yes, you've heard about it, or no, you haven't heard about it. I want to make sure that we're all up to date. And especially for those of you guys that haven't heard about it, I want to give you a quick update on that, because the research that's being done is focused on the plaques and the tangles and things of that sort. So I got a whole bunch of yeses, and I have a few nos that that are here. Okay, for you guys who have not heard about the plaque, I'm going to give you a really quick synopsis. Our brains, right, in a healthy brain, we each have about 100 billion brain cells, right? We each have about 100 billion brain cells in a healthy brain. That's a lot. It's still less than the national deficit, but still a lot of brain cells that is there. And in a healthy brain, one brain cell will chat with the next brain cell, and they'll talk to the next brain cell, and they'll talk to the next brain cells. So our brain cells are always talking to one another all the time. They're communicating with one another, right? So every time I have a thought, my brain cells are are talking to one another. Every time I have a feeling, my brain cells are chatting with one another. And every memory that I have, right? Every memory that I have is a pattern of brain cells talking to one another. So, for example, my memory of dinner last night was this pattern of brain cells over here just chatting with one another. My memory of taking a walk at Huntington Beach Library Park last night was maybe this pattern of brain cells over here talking to one another, right? The brain cells are always talking. So each memory is a specific file or a specific pattern of brain cells talking to one another. All right, are you guys following me so far? Does this make sense? Type in yes or no if this makes sense so far. That the brain cells are talking to one another and they're communicating with one another with each memory, each thought, each feeling, right? Cool, very cool. I'm getting a lot of yeses here. And I got a question that says, is the Alzheimer's plaque like the plaque that's on your teeth? It's a little bit different. It's not the same type of plaque that's on your teeth, but I would probably say that both types of plaques are probably not good, including the ones on your teeth, right? Um, so, so brain cells communicating. The plaque, which is called amyloid, right? Amyloid, and I'll type it down for you guys here. Amyloid beta is the name of the plaque. And so what the plaque does is that it gets in the way physically between two brain cells trying to communicate, right? So this plaque gets in the way between two brain cells and it blocks the communication between brain cells is what happens. And in the beginning, it may be really mild, like there's only a little bit of plaque in there. It's not a little bit, not a bunch of plaque. And then over time, what happens is that the plaque builds up in our brains, right? Due to lifestyle activities, due to nutrition and diet and things of that sort, right? Plaque contributes to that, right? Having the wrong lifestyle, not getting enough sleep, right? All the stuff that Lisa talked about, the ways to activate your brain. If you weren't activating your brain, then you may be activating plaque or things of that sort, right? That builds up. And so over the years, these plaques build up. And as they continue to build up, what happens is they interfere eventually with the brain cells being able to talk to one another. So I have a question for you guys. Do you know how many years it takes of Alzheimer's plaque buildup before the first symptoms of memory loss begin? Right? How many years of plaque buildup does it take before folks start having memory loss symptoms from Alzheimer's? Take a guess. Type in your answer. How many years do you think it takes before symptoms of memory loss builds up, of plaque buildup? Right? I'm seeing a whole bunch of tens, 5, 20s. It's like taking a bet here, guys. I see a 7, a 5, 20s, 50 to 60 years. Wow. Okay, Geronimo, Gerard. So it takes on average. That's very interesting. These answers. I see a 50-year, a 30-year, 1 year. So it takes on average about 15 to 20 years. 15 to 20 years of plaque buildup before the first memory loss even starts. Isn't that crazy, guys? I mean, think about that. We have silently, build up these plaques in our brains without any symptoms before any memory loss begin. So the Alzheimer's plaque, right, the amyloid plaque, basically interrupts the memory that we have. And when your brain cells can no longer communicate with one another, when brain cells can no longer talk to one another, we call that memory loss. Does that make sense? When brain cells can no longer talk to one another, we call that memory loss. And it's the result of the inability of brain cells being able to communicate to one another. Okay? So Alzheimer's plaque, amyloid plaque. Let me know if you understand that, the concept behind the Alzheimer's plaque and how it builds up and how it interrupts, it interrupts the ability of the brain cells to communicate. You guys understand that so far? Is everyone on the same page as I am? Okay, Julia says yes. Susan says gotcha. A whole bunch of yeses, yeses, yeses. Very cool. All right, I'm glad most of you guys are understanding it with that. Okay, now that's part one. By the way, there's over 100 of you guys on here. In case you're wondering how many folks are on here, there's over 100 of you on here. Part two of this story, this Alzheimer's story, isn't just plaques. Have you heard of the term plaques and tangles? Plaques and tangles. Have that word or that phrase ever come to mind? Plaques and tangles. I'll type it down for you guys here. Plaques and tangles. Yeah, so Patty says gunk in your noggin. Yes, it must be gunk in the noggin, right? Right. This is a new scientific finding on Alzheimer's. It's called gunk in the noggins that we are letting you know about today. So the tangles, I want to talk to you about tangles. Okay. The tangles is another type of protein. It actually has a scientific name. It's called tau. Tau protein. Let me type it out for you. Or tau tangles. Right? So tau, guys, is the second type of terminology you need to know when it comes to Alzheimer's. Because we always talk about the Alzheimer's plaque, which is amyloid. We don't talk about the tangles as much, the tau tangles. What is the difference? What is tau tangles? Does anyone know what it is or why it's involved in Alzheimer's? Right? Anyone know? You can always guess and type out uh, that. I got questions coming in. Is there a new blood test for Alzheimer's? We're going to chat about that, guys. Yes, we're going to chat about that. But have you guys heard of tau tangles? Yes or no? Anyone heard of tangles? Lon says no. Anyone else? Joanne's heard of it. Ruth has heard of it. Maureen's heard of it. Sandy has not. Elsa has not. So a whole bunch of you have not heard of it. Okay, good. You're going to learn something new today about tangles, tau tangles. What it is this: in our brain cells, there is a type of protein called tau protein. Okay, tau protein isn't necessarily bad. It's part of the proteins that live inside the brain cells. Okay, tau proteins live inside the brain cells. So nothing odd there, right? We call it tau protein. What's bad is this: the tau proteins that is associated with Alzheimer's. What happens is that in the creation of this protein, it gets misfolded. So the shape of the tau protein gets messed up, right? Misfolded is what I call it. I'm going to type it out for you guys. Misfolded tau protein in the brain cells, right? In brain cells. And when the proteins gets misfolded, the tau protein gets misfolded in our brain cells, it basically damages the brain cells from inside and causes the brain cells to die. Okay? It causes the brain cells to die. So it's this misfolded tau protein. So So when it gets misfolded, it gets tangled, right? It gets tangled. Anything that gets misfolded gets tangled. That's why we call it tau tangles, because it gets tangled inside the brain cells. Type in yes if you are following me so far and you understand what that means. Tau tangles. Type in yes if you guys following me so far. Very cool. I got a whole bunch of yeses here. Very cool. Yeah, if I got a no, then I'll just I'll just untangle my explanation and retangle it, right? So tau tangles is the other protein associated with Alzheimer's. And so Alzheimer's is an attack in the brain from both the outside of the cells, the brain cells, with the plaque, and the inside of the brain cells with the tangles. And so the tau tangles kills the brain cells from the inside, and over time, our brain cells start to die. That's why in patients with Alzheimer's, over time, the size of the brain starts to shrink and shrink and shrink. And so the brain gets smaller because the brain cells are dying. They're dying because, first of all, they cannot communicate because the plaque's in the way and they lose their function. And they're dying because of the tau tangles inside is causing some destruction to the brain cells. And so the size of the brain of an Alzheimer patient over time shrinks. And we can see this on an MRI scan, right? We take an MRI scan today, and then in a year, we would scan an MRI again with our Alzheimer's patient, and we would see that their brain starts to shrink and their brain starts to get smaller with that. Okay? Now, the next question, do Alzheimer's patients have both plaques and tangles? Yes, 100%. 100%. If you have Alzheimer's, you have plaques and tangles. If you have Alzheimer's, you have plaques and tangles. Okay? If I scan your brain and I do not see Alzheimer's plaque in the brain, if I scan your brain and I do not see the Alzheimer's plaque in your brain, we can remove Alzheimer's from your list of diagnosis. You do not have Alzheimer's if there is no plaque. The plaque is required for the diagnosis. Does that make sense to you guys so far? The plaque is required, right, for the diagnosis. Okay. Now, got a good question here. The difference between dementia and Alzheimer's. The difference between dementia and Alzheimer's. Dementia is a big umbrella of every condition that is associated with memory loss. Okay, dementia is a big umbrella of every condition associated with memory loss. So under this big dementia umbrella, Alzheimer's take up 2/3. Alzheimer's take up 2/3 of the umbrella. Okay, so 2/3 of dementia is Alzheimer's dementia. The other 1/3 of dementia, okay, the other 1/3 of dementia is dementia not related to Alzheimer's. For example, you can have dementia from having multiple strokes in your brain, right? Having strokes can cause dementia. Another example, you can have dementia from vitamin B12 deficiency. Vitamin B12 deficiency. You know, I chatted with a patient the other day, and they came in because we do these free consultations, right? We've been doing a lot of free consultations every day at no cost to evaluate folks who have memory loss or who are concerned with memory loss and things of that sort. Um, and it's interesting. Folks sometimes come in and they say, I think I have Alzheimer's, and then I dig a little bit deeper and I realize I asked them, have you had your B12 shot or your B12 level checked? And they go, yeah, we did, and we were told it was low, and so we're trying to take these B12 pills and things of that sort. But B12 deficiency, guys, can cause memory loss that's not even Alzheimer's related, right? And so that's the 1/3 of dementia. The other 2/3 is Alzheimer's dementia, right? By the way, if you are interested in chatting with me on a video chat like this, well, I've been doing a lot of video chats with folks because of COVID, right? We've been doing all these video chats with patients from their home. You can just basically shoot me an email. I have my email for you guys there. If you're interested in a video chat to figure out what's going on in your mind and your brain and things of that sort. Okay. Now, so plaques and tangles is what I want to tell you about. Okay. Because you need to learn about plaques and tangles to understand the research that's being developed. And the latest research, because the research that's being done, the clinical trials, is all about plaques and tangles. All right, so I wanted to give you that baseline. Now, real quick, what is the test that we do to look for these plaques and these tangles in the brain? Does anyone know what test can be done to look for plaques and tangles in the brain, to look for Alzheimer's plaque? Type in your answer. What do you think is a way to find out how to find plaques and tangles? I see a whole bunch of MRI scans here and things of that sort. So I saw some PET scans here. Let me see here. A question about Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's is a different type of dementia than Alzheimer's, not the same type. I see here a blood test. I see CT scans. Very interesting, guys. So if you were to ask me, how do you find, definitively, how do you find Alzheimer's plaque? If you were to ask me this question, 7, 8 years ago, how do I find Alzheimer's plaque, Dr. Trin? How do we confirm it? 7, 8 years ago, the answer I had for you guys was autopsy. Okay, so autopsy is what was the definitive test 7 to 8 years ago. And so, it just wasn't a really good prevention program back then because I had to wait till, you're no longer there to confirm the diagnosis. But here's the good news. In the last several years, we now have FDA approved brain scans. We now have FDA approved brain scans to look for the Alzheimer's plaque, amyloid, and also to look for the tau tangles. They're both PET scans, right? They're both PET scans. They're specialized, I'm going to type it out for you here. Specialized PET scans approved by the FDA. Okay, I typed it out for you there. They're specialized PET scan that's been approved by the FDA to look for the amyloid plaque and to look for the tau tangles. Okay, so we can see it now. They're through PET scans, guys. It's usually not available to the public. You can't go to your doctor and say, I want a PET scan to look for amyloid plaque, right? It's not covered by by Medicare and stuff like that, unfortunately. In clinical research, though, it is something that you can get as part of a clinical trial at no cost. And so we've been sending a lot of our patients every week to go get these PET scans at no cost. If they are part of, if you're eligible for these clinical trials and you get these scans that go along with it in most of our clinical trials, right? If that's something you're interested in, just shoot me an email. You got my email here with that. Now, let's talk about what's new. So Lisa talked to you about 8 steps, right? Activate your brain. 8 steps, actionable steps that you can do to reduce your risk for Alzheimer's, to strengthen your brain, to reduce the risks for memory loss, right? And those 8 steps are super, super important. And I recommend those 8 steps for everyone to to apply to your life, whether the plaque is there or not, right? Whether the plaque is there or not, these 8 steps is going to improve the health of your brain. Now, why do we do research? Why do we do research in Alzheimer's? We do research, guys. We do clinical trials. By the way, have you guys heard of clinical trials before? Clinical research? Type in yes if you've heard of clinical trials before. Or I wonder who's heard about clinical trials and things of that sort. Okay, most of you guys. Very cool. Most of you guys have heard about clinical trials, huh? Yeah. So clinical trials, if anyone here has not heard about clinical trials, it is what we do here at Irvine Clinical Trials, and we're sitting. I'm actually sitting inside of Alzheimer's Orange County. That's where we're located in Irvine. Um, and so, a clinical trial is a process where we take medications and we put it through this FDA pipeline, right? We put it through this FDA pipeline to evaluate these new medications that are usually that has the best hope or the best chance for success to for new treatments, right? For new treatments for diseases that are hard to treat, like Alzheimer's. There are 4 FDA approved medications currently for Alzheimer's treatment. Aricept, everyone heard of Aricept, right? The Donazepam is one, Namenda one, and things of that sort. And so what we do is we put these medications and we evaluate them, we collect information, we collect data, and if it looks successful, the pharma company or the sponsor behind these medications will take that medication to the FDA and say, look at our data, it looks good to us. What do you guys think? And if it looks good to you, the FDA, after an evaluation, will if they're good data, the FDA will approve it, and that medication becomes available to the public, right, through prescriptions. So that's what clinical trials are. It's a process of taking these new medications to the FDA if it works and approved for the public. Alzheimer's currently has 4 medications, guys, that are approved. Of the 4 medications approved by the FDA for Alzheimer's, how many of these medications, of these 4 that are currently approved, how many of them can remove plaque? Type in your answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. Type in your answer. How many of these 4 medications can remove plaque? What do you guys think? How many of these 4 medications can remove plaque? Okay. Oh wow, you guys are pretty good. Not a trick question, right? The answer is 0. 0. Right? We've been talking about the plaque and the tangles and the tau. Of the 4 medications currently approved by the FDA, 0 medication. We don't have anything that can remove plaque that's FDA approved. Okay? Which is why Alzheimer's is the 3rd leading cause of death in Orange County. Right? Number 1 cause of death in Orange County is heart attacks. Number 2 cause of death in Orange County is cancer, and number 3 cause of death in Orange County is Alzheimer's. Very unfortunate. And Alzheimer's is one of this condition that where the number of death is going up while we are getting better control of cancer and heart disease and all these other health conditions, right? Their death rate is going down because we have better medications. Alzheimer's is going in the opposite direction because we have nothing that's FDA approved to remove or to address the plaques and the tangles. Now, drum rolls. What is the latest? What is the latest in Alzheimer's research? Most of the medications, guys, currently in research for Alzheimer's are medications that are immunotherapy, immunotherapy. Have you heard of the words immunotherapy before? Right? Immunotherapy is, if you haven't heard of it, immunotherapy is two words combined, right? Two words combined, the immune system and therapy. Using the immune system for therapy. Immunotherapy is being done now in cancer treatment with a lot of success. What we do is we train the immune system to recognize the cancer cell as the bad guy, right? The cancer cell is the bad guy. So your cancer cell goes out, your immune system goes out there, finds the cancer cell, recognizes the cancer cell, and then gobbles it up and then eats it up, right? Uh, and so we are having a lot of success in cancer treatment currently. Patients with breast cancers, lung cancers, leukemias, lymphomas, metastatic melanoma, they are all doing very well with immunotherapy. Last year, the death rate from cancer dropped compared to the year before. We are slowly, guys, winning the war on cancer because of these new technologies that includes immunotherapy, training the immune system, right, to recognize cancer. What we are doing in many of the clinical trials I am seeing today is we are using immunotherapy. We're bringing immunotherapy over to Alzheimer's. And what we are doing is that we are training your immune system to recognize the Alzheimer's plaque, the amyloid plaque, as the bad guy, so that your immune system goes up here, and if it sees the plaque, gobble, gobble, just like Pac-Man. This is the direction currently of many clinical trials in Alzheimer's. It is using immunotherapy to try to remove plaque. So we have clinical trials right here in Irvine Clinical Research, right, that are designed to remove Alzheimer's plaque. We have clinical trials that are designed to remove tau as well, right? Some of them are directed at tau, some of them are directed at the plaque, right? It's very interesting. We're using your own immune system, guys. We're using your own immune system. As a matter of fact, sitting on the desk of the FDA, and I want you guys to Google this, okay? I'm gonna write down, this is public news now, right? It's not anything secret or anything of that sort. This is public news. I want you to type out a immunotherapy medication called aducanumab and FDA, right? Everyone see that in the chat box? Aducanumab and FDA. Everyone see that? Type in yes if you see that. Aducanumab and FDA, right there. And cool. So save that for later after my talk and do a Google search on that. Aducanumab is a medication, right? It's really what we call a monoclonal antibody, and so these immunotherapy medications, they're antibodies, is what they are. They're infused into you, and they are designed, right? These antibodies are designed to target certain things. In cancer treatment, the antibodies are designed to target the cancer. And it targets the cancer, it tags the cancer, the immune system eats up the cancer, right? So we're creating these antibodies that are now targeting the plaque, the Alzheimer's plaque. And that's what aducanumab is. There's many different antibodies that are doing that. So aducanumab is sitting on the laps of the FDA, pending FDA review for possible approval next year. This is the highlight of Alzheimer's research that I want to tell you about. Now, there is no guarantee. There's no guarantee that that the FDA is going to approve this medication, right? But the fact that the FDA accepted this medication and fast-tracked it, not just accepted it, but fast-tracked it for review for a decision in March of next year, right? March is how many months? We're in October, November, December, January, like in 6 months, right? In 6 months, the FDA is going to decide on the data of aducanumab, on whether the data is adequate for approval or not adequate for approval. If the FDA approves aducanumab, if the FDA approves aducanumab, and it's an if, right? We don't know what the FDA's decision is, but if it gets approved, it will be the first medication in the world designed to remove Alzheimer's plaque. And I'm coming to you today, and I wanted to give you this update today because I think there's hope. Right? I'm very hopeful. I don't know if it's going to get approved, but I have hope. We're getting closer every year, right? The fact that we have a medication that actually made it through phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, right? And it's all packaged and to be reviewed by the FDA, right? That's hopeful because guys, we have not had anything for like 17 years, right? The last thing was like Namenda, which is 2003, right? And you came to me today in my office and it's like, what can you treat me with for medications for my Alzheimer's? I got the same medications I did in 2003, right? I got the same medications I do in 2003. We have nothing since 2003. And so aducanumab is one immunotherapy among many that are being studied, but I wanted to give you that as an example because that is hope, and I wanted to share that with you. Right? Just Google that later on. Again, I don't know if it's going to be approved, but it's hopeful. Real quick, guys, we got a few minutes with you guys, and that's never enough time, right? That's never enough time for these lectures, which is why you can email me. By the way, I have an Alzheimer's ebook for you guys who are interested in my ebook. I sell it on Amazon.com, but I'll send you the ebook for free through. You don't have to buy it, guys. You can just send me an email if you're interested in the ebook that I'll send you that has the risk reductions for Alzheimer's and all that. But quickly, a few other things that you should know. There is a blood test being developed in research to try to make this diagnosis of Alzheimer's. That blood test is being done right now, or the research is being done right now to try to validate the blood test. And that blood test looks for tau. Remember we talked about the tau tangles, guys? The tau tangles that's in here? So what happens is in a damaged brain, the tau tangles leak out of the brain cells and they go into the bloodstream, right? In an Alzheimer's damaged brain, these tau proteins, they leak out of the brain cells that are dying, and they get into the bloodstream. So we are checking the tau levels, the phosphorylated tau in your blood to see if there's a correlation between that and the plaque in your brain. So that's some pretty cool news that's coming. It's not approved; it's only being tested. But I wanted to tell you there is a blood test. Real cool. At least in our office here at Irvine Clinical Research, we're also bringing a nutritional clinical trial for Alzheimer's. How many of you guys know that there's a link between the gut and the brain, gut health and brain health? How many of you guys know there's a link between gut health and brain health? Type in yes if you've heard about it. Very cool, very cool. So I'll save this gut health, brain health lecture for you guys another time because it's be like another hour, right, to talk about that. But there's a link between gut health and brain health. So it's really neat. We're taking on this this clinical trial is coming up in a few months, and we're going to study a compound in brown seaweed. Brown seaweed. There's a compound in there that has been studied in Asia, and it's been linked to improving memory in Alzheimer's patient. And what this and what this does is that apparently they studied folks who are in Asia, populations epidemiology studies of populations of patients who don't have a lot of Alzheimer's, and they find out that certain populations in Asia have certain diets, and it came and they I don't know how they did it. They traced it to a particular seaweed, like brown seaweed, and a lot of these folks who don't get a lot of Alzheimer's, they've been eating a lot of seaweeds, and somehow they isolated a compound in brown seaweed, and that compound was studied in Asia, and it's actually FDA approved in China, actually. And what the seaweed does, guys, the compound in the seaweed, is that it improves your gut health. It improves the microbiome, or the different types of good bacteria in your gut, and it's very neat. It's very interesting. By improving gut health and the diversity of the good bacteria, apparently it helped with the brain as well. So it's been studied in Asia. It's been FDA approved in China. We are bringing it here to the United States to do these clinical trials as well. So I wanted to let you know that that's up and coming. But again, guys, somebody says, I want to be in on a seaweed study trial. I don't know if you're a candidate yet. If you guys are interested in clinical trials, just email me, and I'll have a chat with you on video or something, and to talk about it. If you're interested in my ebook, shoot me an email, and I can email that to you guys as well. So lots of exciting stuff coming. I've gone a little bit beyond my time here. It's 3:01. But shoot me an email. It's on the chat. It's dung.trin@alzoc.org, and we can chat further with that. God bless, and Patty, I'll give it back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Trim. We always learn something new, and I think it gives all of us an opportunity to kind of cement some of the things we've heard about Alzheimer's, the way it's diagnosed, and what's on the horizon. The aducanumab trials are very exciting, and we're extremely hopeful. Thank you so much. I hope all of you have had your questions answered. We have a couple of minutes. In case there's another question that you'd like to ask Dr. Trin, you can type it into the chat box, and we will hopefully get that answered for you. You'll also receive an evaluation by email, and we really appreciate if you complete these evaluations, because it gives us the opportunity to continually refine and improve the programs that we offer. We hope that you'll continue looking at our website. It's www.alzoc.org. And there you can see what other educational programs we'll be offering, what kinds of support groups we offer to families who are living through this difficult disease. And we'd love to have you get involved in our walk and our run for ALS coming up on November 14th. We will have a virtual walk and run for ALS, and you can participate. You can join a team, you can start a team, you can help to participate in the mission of care that Alzheimer's Orange County has been providing all of you and your neighbors for over 30 years. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time today. We appreciate both Lisa and Dr. Trin, and we hope to see you on the next WebEx broadcast. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah.